Whew, okay, I'm pretty excited about this video today because I've been grinding my butt off for, well over 200 hours in this game so far. I have every single weapon in the game at the Relic tier, and then, obviously beyond that, because I have to play with them at the Relic tier to get all my weapon reviews up, and I just wrapped that whole process up this week. So, it's done. I never have to collect another piece of armory data or another gene seed. Every class is maxed out, every gun is maxed out at this point. So, now that I have played with everything in the game at the max it's capable of reaching, I wanted to do a tier list, right? Same thing I did with my tier list for the classes, but this time just with the weapons specifically, now that I've played with all of them at the Relic tier. So that's what we're doing today. A full-blown, top to bottom weapon tier list after I've maxed them all out. So let's get into it. And just remember, we are going to disagree with, especially with this many weapons. At some point during this video, I'm going to put one of these weapons in a tier, and you're going to be like, this guy don't know friggin' jack crap. That's fine. It's a video game. These are just my opinions, so take them with a grain of salt. So that being said, we're going to kick things off right here with the very first weapon on the list. This is the Auto Bolt, okay? I covered this one this week on the channel. And I said it was basically like it's kind of like your toaster in the morning. It's not remarkable in any way, but it just works. It does its job, and that's it, right? There's nothing remarkable or crazy exceptional about it. It's just fine, right? Fine at actually I think it does pretty okay at ad clearing. It has a nice rate of fire. It's still just a one-hit kill on termagants and stuff like that anyways. So it cooks through ads just fine, right? Just fine. And single target damage, it's okay. You can buff it in a few different ways. But there's nothing really remarkable about the Auto Bolt rifle, but I also don't think that it's like terrible. It may be if you're comparing it to the performance of something that's in the S tier. But anyways, all that to say, I'm going to put it right here in the C tier. Okay, Auto Bolt is going in the C tier. Not remarkable. There's going to be a lot of stuff up here above it. But it's also not in the D tier. It's not like useless or anything like that. And there are some weapons that are going to fall down into that D tier. Now, I am going to try and be a little strict here because with this many weapons, I think it's 22 weapons here on the table, we have to make sure there's some separation, right? So I got to be a little bit picky about where these things fall. So you might even disagree and be like, oh, I bumped that up just a little bit or bump that down just a little bit. I'm doing all of this in comparison to everything else in the game, not necessarily in a vacuum, right? That being said, we now have the Melta Rifle. My opinion on, we actually have both of the Meltas right here. My opinion on Melta Rifles is going to depend on competition, okay? So I know that Melta is like the ease of use king, right? You just point and you shoot and ads die, right? It's that simple. Point, shoot, ads die. It's not complicated. It's not complex. There's no special tech to it. There's no special way you gotta build it out. It's just gonna work, right? And that being said, both of these have very stiff competition, right? You talk about the Melta Rifle, which is the one we're gonna do first here. This is on the tactical. It's also on the Vanguard. And it works very, very well, especially with Vanguard if you're grapple hooking into mobs and, you kick a major in the face as you grapple in, and then you can just blast him real quick with a 20% damage buff because he did the grapple, all that stuff. It just works. That being said, you got some stiff competition here in the tactical. Most people are probably going to be running the bolt rifle with the underbarrel grenade launcher. I actually really like using the Stalker Bolt on tactical as well, especially when you're doing the the scan. The Auspex scan coupled with the Stalker is some crazy damage output for majors and extremists and terminus enemies without breaking the ammo bank, right? Some other things out there can do big damage to those enemies, but you're really gonna pay for it in the ammo capacity in the ammo department. But the Stalker doesn't do that. We'll get to that later. All this to say, this does have stiff competition. Even the Vanguard has the Instigator, which I think is phenomenal. But I'm going to put it in the A tier. I know some people are already freaking out like, it's an S tier. I don't think it is. Because for me, the criteria to reach S tier is that it needs to not just be exceptionally good at what it does, but it also needs to be able to make up for some of its weaknesses. And there are some clear weaknesses in the game, in the Melta's game specifically, especially when you're talking about single target damage. You can use them as single target damage weapons. You can use anything as single target damage weapons, but their output is just not nearly as good as some other stuff when it comes to big targets. That being said, I'm also going to put the MultiMelta in A tier, slightly above the standard Melta. Obviously, the MultiMelta, you get some serious range on it. You can, like I said, it's not the best at single target damage, but if you get a mob, any heavy player knows this. If you get a mob of 3 to 5 majors in front of you, and you keep them all in front of you, you can use that MultiMelta to stun lock, a wave of them a little bit. It's very, very, very good, right? A tier is very good. So that's where it's going to fall. All right, we're going to move on here to the Occulus Bolt Carbine. I really wanted to like the Occulus Bolt Carbine. I really, really did, but it just sucks. I mean, it does. It just sucks. I think it is, in my opinion, the worst gun in the game. Boom, D tier. Its damage output is abysmal. Its accuracy is not great either, so melting through mobs, like the bloom kicks in, so you have to like fan the trigger, while other stuff, you just hold the trigger down and you're going to melt a whole bunch of ads. It's just not a good gun at anything. It doesn't do anything well. It does everything slightly below average or terribly. So I have no good things to say about the Occulus Bolt, and I really did want to like it, especially with Vanguard being like my preferred class of all of them. That's sort of like my favorite one to play. So it pains me to put it there, but it sucks so stinking bad. Next up is the Plasma Incinerator. Again, this is a good gun. I think that the Plasma Incinerator for the tactical is a good gun. It has some really good single target damage. It can do okay at ad clearing as well if you're charging up shots into big mobs. But when your minorist enemies are a little bit more spaced out, it's not quite as good. I think it's an all-around decent weapon. I think it deserves to be in the B tier. But there's just too many things that are considerably better than it. But it's not a bad gun. You can't be making a bad choice by choosing to run the Plasma Incinerator. It's fun, it's dynamic, it's cool, and it definitely works. Especially, I think it really shines the best at majors, being able to take them on, because it has a decent ammo economy when you compare it to like the heavy plasma. It's not going to do nearly as much damage. But you can sort of retain more ammo, which is a good thing, obviously, because as a tactical, you need that primary ammo to really capitalize on off-spec stuff. Moving on. The next one on the list is the Stalker Bolt Rifle. I really like the Stalker Bolt. Like I was saying earlier, for tactical specifically, it is incredible at single target damage. So because of your ammo economy with this thing, you can use it all the time. Like you can main it and almost never touch your pistol. Plus you're getting, because of Emperor's Vengeance, is that what it's called? Emperor's Vengeance is the perk that basically gives you more ammo back. Like you just scan a major and pop him a couple times in the head and he's dead, and then you just get your whole mag refunded to you. So it's like you didn't use any ammo at all. It's so good at single target damage, especially like zoanthropes and the neurothropes and even the Carnifex when they get stun locked or they get stuck on something and you just scan them and just pop, 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 pop. I am a believer in the Stalker. I think that the Stalker is an A tier weapon. And in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it over in between, just underneath the MultiMelta, but above the standard Melta. I honestly believe that. And obviously you can use this on the sniper class as well. Next up, we have the Bolt Pistol. It's hard because we're doing a tier list with all the weapons, so I have to find a place for a secondary weapon in the midst of all these primaries. So would you prefer to have an Occulus Bolt over a Bolt Pistol as a secondary? Yeah, like this is probably a better gun all around. But I'm gonna judge this purely as a sidearm, not as just a gun in the mix with all these other guns. Because obviously we can't compare it to the Occulus Bolt because they don't go in the same slot, right? It's just not the same thing. So as a secondary, I think that it's just gonna be top of C tier, basically, as a secondary weapon. It just works, right? There's nothing wrong with it. I really like using the pistol. It's good for just zooming in and popping off the heads of little gaunts here or there, or the Zangors with their heads sticking over the shields, and you just kind of slowly dial in. If you've got the time and the space, it'll get the job done, no problem. But then we've got the heavy bolt, and I'm going to put this in the B tier, because the heavy bolt on assault is super fun. It is super fun, and it does do respectable damage against the bigger enemies. That's obviously the weak part of the assault kit, is being able to take on individual targets, especially ones that are flying, like zoanthropes and neurothropes. even Hellbrutes, because Hellbrutes, I think like most of their standard melee attacks that can be parried cannot be followed up by a gun strike. I don't know why it is, but a lot of Hellbrute attacks that you can parry, you can't actually follow up with a gun strike. And a lot of the assault's single target damage is wrapped up in its ability to do big gun strike damage. So that being said, you need something to sort of offset that weakness, and the heavy bolt pistol, it does that. I think it's a very fine sidearm. And just as a polite reminder, your sidearm that you choose on the assault does not change how much damage your gun strikes do. Even though the gun strike whips out the pistol and does the shot, it's going to do the same amount of damage no matter which weapon you choose. This is just when you're using it by itself. You know what I mean? Next up, we got the plasma pistol here. And I'm going to put it in the B tier just above the heavy pistol. Just because it's got a lot of really good utility. It's got the charged up shot for single target damage. It's got the ability to disrupt calls for aid. You can spam shots at your feet to kill ads that may be charging you. It's just really versatile. And because of that, I'm going to put it in the same tier as the heavy bolt, but just slightly above it. So when it comes to specifically the sidearms, if you're going from top to bottom, it's going to be the plasma pistol by the heavy bolt followed by the standard bolt pistol. So that's kind of how I rank those weapons. Next up, we have the good old Chainsword, and I just got to keep it real with you guys. This is going to be the first weapon that's going to find itself comfortably in the S tier. Okay, it is easy to use, right? The combos you don't have to think about. It's just lights and heavies. You just light and one heavy, and you're going to kick something. Light, and a heavy, you're going to shoulder charge something. Light, and a heavy, and you're going to stomp. And if you hold the stomp button right after the first stomp, you're going to stomp again if you got it spec'd out for that. And all of these things have very predictable knockback that can be followed up with gun strikes. They can stun lock majors, especially chaos majors that like to teleport around on us. If we just keep them stun locked in place, we can whittle them down and not have to go chasing them around the map. Not to mention, I think it's 4 classes out of the 6 have access to the Chainsword. So it's easy to use, easy to understand, highly effective at all things, whether it's ad control with your stomps and your wide swings, or if it's single target damage with parries and gun strikes and all that stuff. This just gets the job done. It is incredible. It is exceptional. And especially as somebody who plays a lot of Vanguard, there's just times where I go into a room full of ads and I don't even feel like I need to pull my gun out, right? As long as I've got the Chainsword, I know that I can get stuff done. Next up, we have the good old Bolt Carbine SMG. I just did a video this past week where I did a full sniper build that was all like guerrilla-style brawler warfare, where you cloak in, cloak out. You get these perfect dodges that make you go invisible and then give you 25% damage buff on the SMG, and you just dump that mag with a big rate of fire, and it just shreds majors. It's super fun to play. Very dynamic play style. And that's how I sold it. I said it's just really, really fun. But I also said I'm not going to lie to you guys and be like, this is the most optimal way to run sniper. It's effective, it works, and it's really fun. But that being said, I'm going to have to put it on the bottom end of the B tier, just because it does require a lot of investment to make it work that way. It does also kind of break the whole idea behind being a sniper. You're like, I'm a sniper, and then, okay, where's your sniper rifle? And I left it at home. It's like, well, what are you now? It's kind of strange in terms of identity crisis there. And then obviously Tactical has access to it too, but no Tactical worth their salt is really going to be running this, if we're being honest. They've just got too many other phenomenal options. So because of that, I'm going to put it at the bottom of B tier, kind of bordering on that C tier. Next up, we have the combat knife. And this is tough in terms of where I'm going to end up putting this. I think for the combat knife, I'm going to put it at the top of C tier. And I know some people are already like, what? I can complete a full ruthless mission and only use my combat knife from start to finish. You can. Anything in this game can be used effectively. I mean, that's just a matter of fact. Anything can be used effectively. But when I'm comparing it to the Chainsword, when I'm comparing it to some of the other melee weapons we'll get to in just a second, it does have some decent ad clear if you spec into the shoulder charge, where you just go dodge, shoulder charge, knock 3 gaunts back, and pop 1 with a gun strike to get your armor charge back. Dodge, shoulder charge, knock 3 gaunts back, do the gun strike, and you just do that over and over again. but it's repetitive, it's dull, and it is a slow process. Does it work? Absolutely, but it's slow. Is it efficient? Not really. And then they sort of sell it as being a single target, monster. Like, this is the thing that's going to take down majors. And it does, but quite frankly, I don't see a big difference between using this and using my Chainsword when it comes to single target damage. I can do single target damage just fine with the Chainsword too. And so I think for that reason, it's just going to fall at the top of C tier. It's fine and there's nothing wrong with it, right? It's fine. But that's all. Next up, we got the Powerfist. Powerfist is going to go down here in the D tier. Powerfist, D tier. This thing sucks. Okay, I really wanted, I've talked about this several times on my channel. I really wanted to love the Powerfist. I still use it to this. I used it earlier today because I like using it. It's got fun power fantasy. The combos look super cool. The animations for the finishers are probably some of the best in the game. But it sucks. It's like got this identity crisis where on the meter, when you go to select your weapon on the meter where it's got like the 3 skulls or the 1 skull, where it's like, what is this geared towards? Is it geared towards single target damage or towards crowd control? And it's like over here closer to crowd control, which doesn't make sense because it's a Powerfist. It's supposed to be like anti-armor, right? It's supposed to do damage to one thing really, really well. And it doesn't do either of those things, right? It doesn't do crowd control well at all because its range is abysmal. Like, you have to be close enough to literally lick people's eyeballs if you want it to do damage. On top of that, it's supposed to do this like wave energy, like small localized explosions of waved energy. And you even can spec into this where it says on one of the perks, it's like, oh, this ground slam has a 10-meter radius area of effect, which is bullcrap because I've tested this over and over and over again. I showed this on my review of the Powerfist, actually, where I had a Gaunt like at my 1 o'clock, right? He's at my 1 o'clock, and he is directly engaged with me. There's maybe 2 feet of distance between me and him. And I do this full charge up, and then pound the ground, and he just looks at me. He didn't move, he didn't budge, just kind of looks at me like, what was that, buddy? What was that about? And it did nothing to him. It only will hit the thing like right in front of you, and there's no 10-meter radius. That's a bold-faced lie. Whether it's a bug, I don't know. But the range on those wave attacks is terrible. It's not good. And then on top of that, it doesn't do single target damage very well either, and they even buffed it. And it's still not very impressive when you compare it to things like the Chainsword or even the combat knife. The problem is that the things that do the biggest damage are these combos that require sometimes 5 to 6 inputs, like your thrust jab 2, back fist 2, where you have to do like light, charge, heavy. And here's the problem with that. Majors do not sit there and wait for you to get through that full progression. They don't do it for me, at least. They don't just sit there and be like, yeah, man, just keep hitting me, keep doing that. This is great, I'm loving this, having a lot of fun. No, they're going to do an unparryable attack in the middle of all that, or they're going to come in with a blue attack and you're going to have to react to it. So the chances of you even getting to those combos that do the big damage, it's not going to happen very often, right? Maybe 1 out of every 5 or 6 majors you're going to be able to pull that off against. And that's usually if you start the combo on your way to them. So instead of walking up to the major, you're like 15 feet away and you just start going, ha, 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 you know what I mean? As you're sort of punching your way closer to them. And it just looks awkward. It's weird. It's a terrible weapon. It belongs in the D tier. I'm sorry to say it. All right, next up we have the Power Sword. Really fun weapon. I do love the ability to switch between stances. I think the Bulwark is a really high fun factor class, right? And I get a little bit of flack for this. I don't think it's like one of the best classes in the game when you're like, if I was to pick my team for a Ruthless Clear, they have a lot of great team utility, but quite frankly, if everyone's doing their part, you're probably not going to need all that extra healing on command. They're good in a pinch, and they're really fun to play, though. That's what I love about Bulwark, is the fun factor, because they're really all about getting right down in the thick of things and just brawling, just dueling majors especially. So it's a lot of fun. And the Power Sword here, I called it an energy sword in my first video, and I thought they were going to come to my house with, pitchforks and everything. But anyways, Power Sword here, I'm going to have to end up putting it, though, at the bottom of the B tier. Bottom of the B tier. Versatile, really cool, really fun, But again, when it just comes to melee weapons, nothing comes close to beating the utility of the Chainsword for me. So, and also the fact that you can't like open with a heavy attack. You have to like your power rakes and stuff like that. Like you have to hold the button to switch stances, which isn't really a big deal. And a good bulwark will tell you you can switch stances mid-swing if you just know what to do. If you dodge and then you hold, so a dodge and a heavy will queue up the opposite, sprinting attack of the current stance you have on. So if it's in the light mode and you dodge and then hold melee, you're going to come in with the powerful helicopter swing or the whirlwind strike. And then if you're in the heavy stance and you dodge and hold the attack button, you're going to launch into the light stab. So for single target damage. So there's ways to work around it. But all that to say, it's just not quite as good as this, which just works, right? So that's where it lands. I'm going to put it in the B tier. Whew, this is a lot. Next up, we got the old Thunderhammer. What a cool weapon. What a cool weapon. I got to be honest here. I think this weapon belongs. I'm going to put it at the bottom of A tier. I think it's a better melee weapon than the Power Sword. But the Thunderhammer is so cool. The combos are really fun to play with. It's much more versatile, I think, than the Power Sword is. The ability to do the charge up and then do the 2 aftershocks, like bam, bam. And the way that adds just fly when you're using this thing. And the fact that you can hit things that are at your 7 o'clock, basically. Like if something is squeezing your left butt cheek and you swing from the right side, it will wrap all the way around and the tip of your hammer will conk that thing on the head. So the sweeping angles of this thing is just insane. So that the potential to take down ads quickly and knock them all back and just take gun strikes for free. Man, what a great weapon. The only thing that really is holding the assault class back, I wish they would consider it. I know assault mains might yell heresy, but I think it would be really cool because I love playing assault. I think it'd be really cool if they gave us the Carbine SMG. Because the Carbine SMG, which we put, where do we put that? Right here. This has baked into the skill tree that retaliation perk where you get the 25% damage boost after a perfect dodge. And the perfect dodge windows are 50% longer for the assault class. So they are all about queuing up gun strikes and queuing up perfect dodges. So if they gave assault this SMG with retaliation, dude, the way you could cook mobs and groups of majors would be so fun. Anyways, Thunderhammer, definitely going to go in the bottom of A tier. Okay, this is confusing, I know, visually, because these two models look so similar. The thing that gives it away is the curved magazine as opposed to the vertical magazine here. But this is the Stalker, right? This one is the Bolt Rifle. This is the one that has access to the underbarrel grenade launcher, okay? Underbarrel grenade launcher. So this is tactical only, and it used to be easily top of S tier. Is where it used to belong, was top of S tier, but they've nerfed it now. So you can't just get bottomless grenades, right? Used to be bottomless grenades. It's not that anymore. So it's been bumped down a peg, and so because of that, I think I'm going to put it right down here, just above the Stalker Bolt, which is confusing visually because they look so similar. But just know, curved magazine here is going to belong to the Bolt Rifle with the underbarrel, specifically with the underbarrel grenade launcher. And the vertical one here is the Stalker Bolt. So it's going to go right above the Stalker Bolt for me personally. Still a phenomenal weapon. Those grenades do huge damage. They're great for taking down majors, which is really what you're supposed to be using them for anyways, is take down majors. And then once you kill the major, the perk Emperor's Vengeance is going to kick in and refund some of those grenades for you. And if I understand correctly, I think this is still the case. I don't know if they fixed it or not. Correct me in the comments if they fix this. But if before the major dies, you switch to your secondary weapon, then you'll get the full, magazine's worth of grenades back. So I think it's only 2 get refunded if you have the weapon equipped. But if you walk up to finish the major and you switch to the secondary, and when your finisher is completed, you'll get all those auxiliary grenades back. I don't know if that's still the case, but that was the case. Anyways, it's going to belong in the A tier for me, pretty high up there. Next up, we have the the Bolt Sniper Rifle. And It's my favorite weapon to run on the sniper. I don't think it's the best weapon on the sniper, but it's the one that I enjoy using the most. I really like the perma invis build and the immediacy of just pull trigger, big damage, right? Pull trigger, big damage. And the Fusil doesn't quite have that. You do the charge ups. But anyway, so I really, really love using this sniper rifle. That being said, I'm going to put it at the top of B tier. It's very good. Huge damage. A lot of people complain about the ammo capacity. I have had literally zero problems. I don't know if it's just me, but I've farmed tons of Ruthless with that build. It's one of my, especially, it's the one that I got my first solo Ruthless clear of Fall of Atreus, was with the Bolt Sniper, which I think some of the gameplay of that went up on the channel recently as well. But anyways, it's insanely good at taking down chaos enemies specifically, and the way that you can cat and mouse around the field and eliminate high priority targets, and then basically just go in there and get nitty and gritty when it's just down to Minoris enemies. It's just insanely fun and highly, highly effective. So big recommend on that. I actually enjoy using it a lot more than the Fusil, but we'll get to the Fusil later. Next up is a weapon that I've been cooked a little bit for. A lot of people got really mad at me for this. But this is the Heavy Bolt, the Heavy Bolt Rifle on Tactical specifically. Now, as you notice, Tactical has access to some crazy guns, right? Here, and here, and here, and here, and here. It's got and here, it's got access to all this stuff. So for me, it's really comparing it to the other options. And I know that a lot of people are like in love with this gun. That's totally fine. I got no qualms with you loving this gun. I actually really enjoyed leveling up. I really enjoyed using it. But it has the same mag size as the Auto Bolt. The Auto Bolt shoots faster and reloads faster. So you're going to be able to put more lead downfield overall with the Auto Bolt. The Heavy is going to do more damage to your bigger targets. But that being said, I just prefer on my Tactical specifically, I'm going to be Auspex scanning stuff anyway, so I'm going to be doing big primary damage as it is. If I'm going for big target damage, this isn't my choice, right? This is my choice. The Stalker's my choice. It's going to cook. Or even the grenades with the Auspex scan on the grenade launcher. These things cook. So I'm not going to pick this for single target damage. If I'm using, a bolt rifle in general for just general fire, I'm going to be thinking about ad clearing, and I do think the Auto Bolter does a better job of that because, like I said, shoots faster, reloads faster, still a one-shot kill to the head, right? Just the same as this. They both take one shot to the head on Gaunts and Sangors and stuff to kill. So I'm going to put it right here, just one spot below Auto Bolter. That's where that falls for me. I know, y'all are still going to be mad about that. Some people are still not over that. Next up, we've got the Heavy Bolter. Dude, what a fun gun. This is one of the most fun weapons in the game to me personally. So friggin' fun. As somebody who did not care for Heavy initially because it was just using the MultiMelta, and I was just so bored of it, right? Having come off of playing like Bulwark and Vanguard, sorry, brain fart there. Having come off of playing those, and then I went straight to the Heavy, which doesn't have that really dynamic, fun dueling melee loop. I was just bored with the MultiMelta, so it took me a while to come back to Heavy. And then when I did, and I started leveling up these two weapons we're about to talk about, one of them was the Heavy Bolter, and I was like, this is so much more fun than Melta ever was. Like, not even close. What a more dynamic and engaged way to play the game. Plus, it is actually highly effective. Highly effective. I love it. I'm not going to try and sell it as being better than the MultiMelta, but it's definitely, I'm going to put it at the bottom of A tier, right? Bottom of A tier is where I'm going to put the Heavy Bolter. We're running out of space here, aren't we? Running out of space. Here's where we're going from here. Next up is the Heavy Plasma Incinerator. Listen, guys, straight to S tier. Straight to S tier. This weapon is nuts after the changes. One shot, and you've got majors incapacitated and ready to be executed. You can fire it into a mob, and I showed this on my You're Playing Heavy Wrong video. I think, well, it went up either yesterday or the day before. But anyways, jeez. You're firing little nukes with this thing, little nukes. And you're going to be getting like 30,000 damage And that's not playing with bots, by the way, and just farming up your numbers. It's just a regular friggin' clear of an operation on Ruthless with other teammates, other human teammates. You'd be dropping 30,000 damage. Friggin' insane. It's going to do things the MultiMelta wishes it could do. You're going to chunk away the Carnifex's health. You're going to just absolutely melt the Helldrake on Reliquary. You're going to be in that final room for 2.5 minutes tops. It's insane. So, yeah, in the little localized, it's basically like a grenade launcher. It chews through ads, dude. You just lob them onto the ground, and all the ads in the area just go flying. Plus, you can then have the freedom to invest in perks that the Melta doesn't really let you. I mean, you can choose to run them, but you're sacrificing Melta ammo refunding. But with the heavy plasma, you're not using that perk. You're using the one that makes it so that whenever you get 10 kills, you get armor charge back for free. And the way that you're going to be killing 10 things in like 3 seconds with this. Just boom, boom, boom. And, 10 to 15 gaunts just fall over dead, and you get a free armor charge. So you can stand there with them all like chewing on your ankles and your elbows, and you're just shooting into them like, I don't freaking care. I just don't freaking care. Now, on top of that, the MultiMelta, you're in a situation where you got a massive wave. You got a bunch of things up in front of you. You're blocked off. You can't just run to the other side because all these vines are now in front of you. Dude, the heavy plasma, you just kind of look through him and you're like, where's that guy? Oh, he's over there. And you just shoot. And since he's a ranged attacker, a ranged major, one shot, boom, he's executable. He's done shooting that crap at you. You pull out your pistol and just pop, and he's toast. Or you're trying to duel all these little guys and you see this green laser tracking on you where these snipers in the wings. The MultiMelta, you got to get through all this stuff and run on over to that guy if you want to put him down. Heavy plasma, you're like, what are you doing? Okay, dead. That's it. You know what I mean? And the MultiMelta kit could never. It could never. This is S-class right here. This is one of the best guns in the game, right? Boom. Next up, we have the Instigator Bolt Carbine. Man, what a fun gun. Really like this gun. I'm going to put it right here. It's going to go right above the Melta Rifle. And I'm going to tell you guys right now, if you're a Vanguard, highly recommend. Put the Melta away, guys. Level this thing up. Level up the Instigator Bolt Rifle. Because the things you can do with this are going to plug the gaps in the Vanguard's kit. Where if you're running the Melta Rifle, it's like, dude, have fun whittling that Carnifex down for 10 minutes or that Neurothrope down for 10 minutes. Or, God forbid, you're playing Reliquary, you get to the final room, you forgot to swap off of it, and now you're just using your pistol to damage the Helldrake. And your teammates are looking at you like, dude, I really wish you wouldn't. I'm telling you, the Instigator is just going to plug the gaps in your build. It's going to let you get a lot more mileage out of the Vanguard kit. When you're getting close anyways, you got the Chainsword. You don't need the Melta, guys. You got the Chainsword, baby. And it can do everything. And you can get your health back when you're killing these majors anyways. Holster the Melta, take the Instigator. Thank me later. That takes us to the last weapon, which is the Laz Fusil. I'm going to go up here in the bottom of S tier. Right? It is what it is. This gun's nuts. It is single target damage. No problem. Clearing waves of ads. You get a good sniper knows how to position themselves so that the gaunts have to come through a bottleneck, right? They're not going to let the gaunts all surround them. That's not what a good sniper does. They're going to go invis, they're going to reposition, they're going to put themselves in a place where the gaunts have to come through a narrow opening to get to you. And then what are you guys going to do? You're just going to overcharge your Laz Fusil shots and you're spec'd for a wider beam, and they're all just going to get disintegrated. And you're going to refund ammo as you do it. I just ran into my desk. I apologize. Anyways. S tier. There's no gaps in it, right? It is just phenomenal. So that right there is going to do it. That's my tier list. Now, I know y'all are probably going to have disagreements. Feel free to talk about them in the comment section. It's totally fine. Just be polite about it. We're just having opinions about fake guns in a video game. But anyways, this has been a lot of fun leveling all these up and playing with them and getting to form a relationship with them and making all these builds around these guns has just been an absolute riot for me. So I'm of course, looking forward to new operations and new weapons, in the future, so we can continue this process and see where those things fall in the pecking order. All right. Thanks so much for watching the video today. I appreciate each and every one of you. If you're looking for a community to fall into, me and my buddies, we farm all the time. All the time. We got now about 150 people in our community, our private Discord community, gaming together morning, afternoon, and evening, farming, getting people help. We've had people pop in there and they're like, I need help. I've never done a Ruthless clear. And we're like, no problem. No problem. We got you. Hop on in. We'll teach you. We'll show you the ropes. all that kind of stuff. Or maybe you just started a new class and you're like, I'm level 1, man. I don't want to be playing Ruthless. Hey, yeah, we're happy to play average or whatever you want to play, all that stuff. So if you want to get involved in a community like that, you're more than welcome to. So just find the link in the description in the pinned comment. It takes you to our Patreon page. We have a super cheap $3 tier. If you click on that and subscribe to that, it'll give you access to the private Discord if you've linked your Discord to your Patreon account. Sound good? If you have any trouble with that, DM me on Patreon, which is taken care of. No problem. All right, with that, be warm and well fed. And we hope to catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.